An eye wall replacement cycle. That cycle is now complete, so that's why we're expecting it to re-strengthen into a Category 5 by later today. Honestly, probably within the next hour or two. Next update from the National Hurricane Center comes at the top of the hour, so it's still a Cat 4, but that may change at 11 a.m. Unfortunately, the landfall is becoming later and later Wednesday night into early Thursday morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I know you see Category 3 right over Tampa. I do not want you thinking that since Tampa's in the center of the stone, that guarantees a landfall in Tampa. Still, there's a lot of real estate that's a possibility for landfall here. Tampa going south into Sarasota. Hurricanes have in the past made these last-minute turns. They don't always end up perfectly in the center of the cone. So yes, Tampa needs to prepare for a strong major hurricane, but it's just not a guarantee it's going to landfall exactly in Tampa. I know you see this as a Cat 3. Technically, that's right along the coast, though, so a Cat 4 landfall is actually not out of the question. And the exact landfall location, I'm talking within 5-10 miles here, can mean a difference between a storm surge of just a couple feet for Tampa, which they can prepare for, and 10 to 15 feet, which would be absolutely catastrophic for Tampa. We do have hurricane warnings far inland because the wind field is large. It's going to be impacting millions of people there. I've got more in our local forecast coming up. It's absolutely gorgeous out there right now. We are going to have a couple cooler mornings ahead this week. I've got that coming up. Days and especially over the next couple of mornings, actually. So for today, 62 to 67 degrees for high temperatures, bright, nice and comfortable. Overnight really depends on where you're at. Farther inland, upper 30s, low 40s. At the Cape, all the way in the upper 40s, low 50s. Elsewhere along the coastline, close to Boston, for example, mid to the upper 40s. So it really depends on where you're living, where you're going. Tomorrow, low to mid 60s, sun clouds. Don't want to rule out a spot sprinkle. It's about it. Most of us will not see that. And yes, it is going to be a cool day. Milton, currently Category 4. Next update from the National Hurricane Center comes within the next 15-ish minutes or so at 11 a.m. So it may be a Cat 5 at that update. If not, they're expecting it to be a Cat 5 by noon. That's because it went through an eye wall replacement cycle, which can short-term weaken it before it re-strengthens. And the problem with the eye wall replacement cycle is now the actual hurricane wind field, it's larger. So the actual physical diameter of the storm is larger, which is not good for Florida because now we're talking more people are going to be impacted across the Florida peninsula by those hurricane wind gusts. So you can see landfall a little bit later than previously estimated, Thursday, 2 o'clock in the morning. I know you see this as a Cat 3 that's right over the coast, so I don't want to say that a Cat 4 is out of the question. Definitely not out of the question. Looking more like a Cat 3, but a low-end Cat 4 is definitely a possibility. Difference between a strong Cat 3 and a weak Cat 4, honestly, barely a difference. They're both going to be unfortunately catastrophic. But look how far inland these hurricane warnings go. I mean, they go all the way to the east coast of Florida because of how strong the storm is. Yes, the fuel for the hurricane is warm ocean water, and that pretty much gets cut off once it moves over land. But it's so strong at the landfall that even once it moves inland, it's still going to be a pretty strong storm, and then it's still going to make it as a hurricane all the way on the other side. So that's why we have hurricane warnings all the way into Orlando. By the way, Florida has 22 million people that live in it, and a lot of people evacuated north or they evacuated inland close to Orlando. So most devastating effects, of course, are going to be where landfall happens. Where exactly landfall is, I'm talking plus or minus 5 to 10 miles, makes all the difference for the storm surge. Tampa, if it goes to your north, that's going to be worst case scenario, 10 to 15 feet. For Tampa, if it goes just to the south, that's a best case scenario, and it'd reduce the peak storm surge significantly. Storm surge is the #1 killer in tropical systems. That's why we focus so much on it. Yes, hurricane strength winds, of course, will be devastating. And then, of course, farther inland, we're talking about a flash flood threat as well. So we definitely have to have thoughts for our friends and family in Florida. Back here, pretty quiet over the next couple days. A lot of sunshine. Warming trend as we get toward the upcoming weekend. Overnight lows mostly in the 40s.